A war council does not need to shout to become terrifying. In the Celestial Palace, a single map, one detectable skill, and one impossible command turn Leon's kingdom into the next target before El Dorado even knows the attack has begun. AI Anime and Manga presents. Before the surprise attack lands, please like, comment, and subscribe if you want more Slime Light Novel episodes. YouTube members get upcoming episodes early, and that support helps cover the AI narration, subtitles, thumbnails, and rendering that keep this series moving. Now, Michael's council chooses Leon. Mai opens the path, and the battle for El Dorado begins before anyone on the ground can prepare. 5 months had passed. High above the world, in the vast castle known as the Celestial Palace, the audience chamber stood lined with chalk-white pillars and saturated with a holy pressure. Behind the front seats waited an army of angels, white-winged, bodiless, and silent. They had no wills of their own. They stood without moving, like statues waiting for a signal to descend on the surface. At the front of the hall sat the ones ranked above them. Kagali was among the reborn, and every one of them radiated more power than before. They had been summoned because Michael was expected to awaken. When Kagali regained consciousness with a seraphim inside her, Michael was still asleep. The delay meant the plan was not moving exactly on schedule. With nothing else to do, Kagali studied the angel army. The explanation she had been given was simple. The number of summoned angels depended on how much energy could be spent. 1 million angels was the usual standard, but after summoning 7 seraphim at once, quantity had been sacrificed for quality. And the quality was terrifying. The low ranks had been excluded. The army contained roughly 1,000 dominions, 3,000 virtues, and 6,000 powers. They lacked physical bodies and could not use their full strength, but even the power class angels were over A rank in combat. They could remain active for only 7 days, yet 7 days would be more than enough to turn the world into a wasteland. Even so, Kagali reached a cold conclusion. The demon lords could probably handle them. Kagali murmured, "This will not be enough. If this is all we have, it will be difficult to defeat even one of the forces opposing us." The words carried through the silent chamber. She had not expected an answer. Deeno answered, "Yeah, well, I never had any servants, but the other demon lords have a whole bunch of powerful people under them. Honestly, I do not know if we could take down even one member of the octagram." Kagali turned toward Deeno, surprised to find herself agreeing with him. Kagali said, "I never thought I would agree with you about anything, Deeno. But I have to ask, I had no idea you were working with Sir Feldway until now." Deeno flatly replied, "Like I could have told you. I am a monitor, remember? My job was to hide my identity and stay as inconspicuous as possible. And one more thing. Feldway and I used to be friends. I do not work for him." Deeno's duty as a monitor had taken him all the way into the octagram itself. He, Pico, and Garasha were fallen angels sent to watch the world of humans. Their mission was to monitor mankind so it would never be destroyed by Veldanava's will. If humanity grew too strong, Guy and the Demon Lords would push it back down. The heroes existed to keep the Demon Lords from running wild. Deeno's group watched that balance and made sure the old relationship between Demon Lords and heroes continued to function. Deeno had taken the visible role of Demon Lord. Pico and Garasha had stayed hidden, investigating from the shadows. He had also concealed their presence so they could move more freely. But Veldanava was gone, and he had never returned. With no one left to report to, Deeno had simply relaxed into life as a Demon Lord. He talked about the matter openly now, as if secrecy no longer mattered. Kagali wondered why he was here at all. Her expression must have betrayed the question. Garasha gave a small laugh. "This guy owes Feldway quite a lot. When Feldway asks him for something, Deeno just cannot say no." Pico added, "And now he says he cannot go back to Demon Lord Rimuru. So he decided to serve Sir Michael instead." Deeno nodded. "Yeah, pretty much." Kagali found that hard to believe. Surely that was not the whole reason Deeno had joined Michael. And yet the excuse sounded so perfectly like Deeno that it was almost convincing. Kagali changed the subject. "Then tell me about Demon Lord Rimuru." I still resent him for killing Clayman. If I get the chance, I would like revenge. That was a lie. Kagali did not hate Rimuru. He was an enemy who had shaped her life, but he had also formed an alliance with Yuki. And even if that alliance broke, Rimuru remained someone who interested her. If she wanted to hate someone for Clayman's death, it should have been Kondo, who had manipulated him, and Michael, who had controlled Kondo. Kagali understood that clearly. She was not foolish enough to say it aloud. Deeno did not pursue the lie. Rimuru is a menace, and so is everyone in his government, especially Zegian. Deeno explained that his role in the previous operation had been to neutralize Ramirez's labyrinth forces. More precisely, he had been ordered to kidnap or eliminate Ramirez. He claimed he had almost succeeded, but in the end he had failed because Zegian stopped him. Kagali asked, "Zegian is that strong?" Deeno answered, "Strong does not even begin to cover it. It is not funny. They say he is the best of the 10 dungeon marvels, and I can tell you he is stronger than me." Deeno had already fought several battles before reaching Zegian, and he admitted he might have underestimated him. But even with that excuse, the result had been humiliating. Zegian had overwhelmed him so completely that Deeno could not even work up the pride to feel like a sore loser. Vega bragged, "What a weak thing to say. Do not worry, I will crush that bastard. Sounds like he needs a good beating." Deeno thought it must be nice to be that foolish, but he kept the comment to himself. It would have been pointless. Kagali sighed as well. Confidence was useful, but only if it did not destroy battle sense. You had to be able to judge the difference between yourself and your enemy. Charging at someone you could not beat only damaged your own side. Pico and Garasha seemed to understand that too. They said nothing, most likely because they were not friendly with Vega and knew he would ignore any warning. The conversation seemed to be ending. Deeno added one last warning. "Anyway, if you notice any insectors inside the labyrinth, be careful. Zegian is a beetle type, and they have a bee girl named Apido who is dangerous too." Deeno meant it as a final note. Instead, it caught Zeranis' attention. Zeranis asked, "A beetle type and a bee type? Tell me more." Zeranis' pressure hit Deeno so hard that he answered before thinking. Deeno stammered, Well, if I remember right, Rimuru has been sheltering them since before he became a demon lord." Zeranis listened in silence. When Deeno finished, the chamber went awkwardly quiet. Deeno desperately wished Zeranis would react somehow, but Zeranis was too intimidating to prod. Deeno forced the topic onward. But anyway, inside Ramirez's labyrinth, the defenders have a huge advantage. There are really strong guardians in there. Zegian leads them, and taking them down will be a serious challenge. Trust me. With that, Deeno was done. Silence returned to the chamber and everyone sank into their own thoughts. Kagali had many things to consider, but Deeno's warning could wait. Her first priority was understanding what had happened to herself. As she searched through her body and the information inside her, she felt tremendous power welling up. A seraphim was the highest order of angel, comparable to an awakened demon lord. By taking one into herself and becoming a mystic angel, Kagali had grown so powerful that her old demon lord self now seemed embarrassing. She still had her unique skill, Schemer. Added to that was a new power embedded in her soul, the ultimate enchantment Melchizedek, Lord of Dominion. Michael had separated off part of his domination authority and granted it to her. It was a fearsome skill, able to analyze other skills and place them under control. But Kagali herself was under the control of that same power. Betraying Michael was now impossible. She understood the terror of it. A war between people holding powers like these was beyond anything the old Kagali could have imagined. And yet, when battle came, her body would surely slaughter the enemy whether she consciously wished it or not. That realization made her shiver. It also made something inside her want to test the power. She knew she should not think that way. Still, the desire kept growing, and she suspected she would have the chance very soon. She had believed her need for revenge was gone. Now resentment toward Leon for killing her and toward Rimuru for killing Clayman bubbled up again. Perhaps she could defeat them now. The thought was useless, but she could not stop it. She even questioned whether Deeno was stronger than her anymore. As a mystic angel, she stood on the same tier as him. The more she considered it, the more embarrassing Deeno looked. Even in her Demon Lord days, she had never seen him fight seriously. Maybe he really was weak. Joy rose from the depths of her heart. She knew she should not lower her guard against these enemies. Still, even if Zygian had toyed with Deeno, Kagali felt certain that she could win. She had surpassed an awakened Demon Lord. Older Demon Lords such as Luminous and Deeno would not be beyond her now. Perhaps even Leon would be no challenge. She imagined Leon crying next. Kagali tried to suppress that dark pleasure. She never realized that the skill controlling her was already radicalizing her thoughts. Vega, meanwhile, was thinking about nothing at all. He simply waited for orders. He had gained power through repeated deaths, consumed Gradim, absorbed the god-class Azure Dragon Spear through his own weapon, and even eaten a Seraphim. His defeats had become fuel. His unique skill Scavenger had evolved into the ultimate skill Azdahak, Lord of Dark Dragons, a power that overwhelmed other skills by sheer destructive force. It was a disaster for the world that someone as thoughtless as Vega had received it. Or perhaps only someone as thoughtless as Vega could have pushed pure force far enough to obtain such a skill. Either way, Vega waited. Once orders came, all he had to do was annihilate and consume whoever stood in front of him. Deeno stared at the floor and wondered, again and again, how things had turned out like this. Long ago, Veldanava had given him his role, and Deeno had descended to the surface. At first, he had not thought of himself as very sentient. Over time, he began thinking for himself. Pico and Garasha had apparently developed self-awareness at around the same time. The three of them had become fallen angels for various reasons. Their only purpose had once been to follow their vanished lord's orders. Deeno had become a demon lord in order to do that. He had watched over the world and wanted to see the game between Guy and Ludora play out, though he never intended to intervene. His loyalty to Veldanava never changed. He still believed that at the end of time he would return to him. Then Deeno met Rimuru, the strange slime. One glance at Rimuru's soul told him how bright it was. It was different from Veldanava's, but somehow familiar. That began a strangely happy period of Deeno's life. He hated work, but being used by the people around Rimuru somehow satisfied him. He could hardly believe it, yet he felt content with those colleagues. And then he had double-crossed Ramirez. That betrayal 5 months earlier was what he regretted most. On Feldway's orders, he betrayed Rimuru's people and let the enemy into the labyrinth. Worse, he tried to capture Ramirez, their most important target. The order allowed him to kill her if capture failed, but Deeno had never intended to do that. He planned to seal her in deep hypno and make it look like she had died. Fortunately, or perhaps unfortunately, the plan failed. Now Deeno could hardly understand why he had tried it. He thought that proved Michael's control over him was real. As long as he had Astarte, he could not defy Michael or Feldway. He understood the situation, but understanding it did not give him a way out. His only saving grace was that Rimuru still trusted him. Deeno looked at the blue butterfly mark on his right arm. He had thought Zygian let him go, but the mark had become a corridor connecting him to Rimuru in heart and soul. Through it, Rimuru could contact him and pull information from the enemy side. Rimuru seemed soft, but he was also calculating. Deeno did not feel disgusted by being used this way. If anything, being trusted like that gave him an odd thrill. For the first time in a while, Deeno found the situation amusing. He had no intention of betraying Veldanava. As long as Michael and Feldway's goal remained Veldanava's resurrection, Deeno felt obligated to help. But deep down, he also felt that everything was becoming far more trouble than it was worth. So he settled on the most Deeno-like answer possible. If the more serious he became, the weaker he got, then it was better for everyone if he did his work halfway. That was Deeno's dangerous strength. He could accept a problem and move past it without letting it crush him. There was always an easygoing solution for a master slacker like him. Refreshed by that conclusion, he waited for Feldway and the others. Arius was thinking too. Kagali and the others were talking, but he did not understand the subject. Normally, his temperament would have made him complain. His instincts told him that was a bad idea. He was still under Kagali's control. He had become a mystic angel, far above the walking dead, but the locking curse remained. Because his evolution had been arranged for him rather than awakened by his own strength, it only tightened the dominance over him. Arius did not dwell on his irritation. He knew his situation well enough. He was filled with unbelievable power, and that omnipotence thrilled him. His unique skill Murderer had evolved into the ultimate enchantment Sandalphon, Lord of Judgment. Michael had taken the skill from Kondo and ferried it into Arius, consuming Murderer in the process. It was not something Arius had chosen, but he was not dissatisfied. While waiting to be called, he was honestly pleased with his new power. Orlia was confused. Orca and Alia had returned in one body, and their consciousnesses were arguing inside it. One consciousness wondered, "Who am I? Am I Alia or Orca?" The other answered, "I do not know. I am Alia, but I am Orca at the same time." In that chaos, the two consciousnesses unified. It was not unpleasant. In fact, it felt comfortable. The new self settled on an answer. "I am Orlia." The answer settled inside her. Orlia was newborn, but she was already both a first-rate warrior and a first-rate magic user. Alternative, the skill granted to her had optimized itself in her body and transformed into the ultimate enchantment multi-weapon. It allowed her to create weapons from the experiences accumulated within her body. There was a limit to how many she could produce at once, but each one was equivalent to God class. With weapons like that, Orlia feared no enemy. Mai Furuki was in despair. She had thought she was dead. Being alive again was not the problem. The problem was that even with this power, she still had not achieved her one wish, returning to Japan. Mai refused to give up. Yuki had told her it was possible. If skills were born from wishes, then she believed she had the power to make her wish real. But when the Seraphim entered her, the ultimate enchantment alternative granted by Michael was consumed, and Drifter evolved into the ultimate enchantment world map. The ability was astonishing. It let her accurately visualize any location in this world, see what was happening there, and travel there instantly with no time lag. To anyone with a spatial skill, it would have been unbelievable. But it still did not grant Mai's wish. World Map's coordinates covered only this world. It could not cross the wall between dimensions, and Mai understood that without needing to test it. It was a crushing disappointment. But Mai was not free. Everything was moving according to Michael's will. Until the day she could freely travel back to her beloved brother, Mai closed her heart and continued to obey. Zerario and Obela were also examining their situations. Zerario was grateful for his new physical body. He had always possessed immense strength, but in the key world, using that power cost him energy. A physical body was necessary to prevent that drain. For someone as powerful as Zerario, finding a vessel that could withstand him had been nearly impossible. That problem was solved. He could now use his full strength on the surface. But the solution came with a new problem. He had acquired Israfil, Lord of Trials, an angelic skill. That was dangerous. With an angelic skill, he had no way to oppose Michael. Destroying it would look like rebellion. Zerario accepted Feldway as a colleague and recognized his authority, but he was not absolutely obedient, and he did not fully trust Michael. A will built on someone else's authority was not something Zerario could accept without caution. He agreed with their current goal. He was willing to cooperate. But he had wanted to avoid any angelic skill in case the day came when he needed to part ways. Now Israfil had come to him naturally. It was not an ultimate enchantment forced in by Michael's will, but that only made it harder to discard. Zerario wondered how much Michael knew. Since Michael had tamed Velgrind and Velzard, he could likely control all angelic skills. Could he also tell exactly who possessed them? Zerario should have considered that sooner. His will belonged to no one but himself. He would not allow anyone to rewrite his thoughts without him noticing. Zerario was rational. He had not stopped the domination of the True Dragon Sisters because it had a high chance of success, but he had disliked that operation from the start. Now he was almost in the same position. He recognized the irony and began thinking about countermeasures. Obela had also gained an angelic ultimate skill, Azrael, Lord of Salvation. Like Zerario, she considered it an unwelcome guest. As a primordial angel, Obela already possessed management abilities independent of skills. Angels like her could instantly cast many kinds of magic without relying on skill systems. That resourcefulness gave primordials their overwhelming presence. An ultimate skill did not add much to her existence, but she had received one anyway, and it was angelic. That was bad. She was already planning to turn traitor, and an angelic skill could expose or control her. Reading her mind was not the issue. She could erase her surface consciousness if needed. The real danger was falling under Michael's control without realizing it. So Obela prepared a countermeasure. If she found any contradiction inside her own mind, she would destroy Azrael immediately. For a being like her, that impossible-sounding act was possible. If it came to that, she would be openly breaking from Feldway, and even Obela would not be safe. Still, she was not concerned. Milim Veldanova's orphan daughter was at stake. Obela believed Milim was the rightful successor to the creator's title, and Feldway had gone far beyond what should be permitted. Then a bell rang. Its beautiful tone was solemn, clear, and enough to tug at every heart in the chamber. The door opened, and Michael, Feldway, and Velzard walked in. Their presence alone erased the chamber's holy atmosphere. Michael took his seat, with Feldway and Velzard following. Michael said, "Now, let us begin." The strategy conference began. Michael first ordered Mai to project a three-dimensional image of the key world in the center of the seating. It was a miniature planet, almost like a view from God's eye, with the Demon Lord's bases marked across it. Michael said, "These are the domains and strongholds of the Octogram, the group of Demon Lords opposing us. There are 6 in total." At Michael's bidding, Mai placed 6 lights on the map. Guy's northern domain, Dagril's far western territory, Luminous's domain west of center, Rimuru's forest nation, Milim's southeastern territory, and Leon's island continent. Feldway addressed the room. "I would like to hear your opinions on how we should tackle this." His eyes rested on only a few people: Zerario and Obela, Yuki and Kagali. Deeno and his companions were not tactical thinkers, and Vega would never contribute to such a discussion. The others were not given the right to speak. Zerario and Obela stayed silent, perhaps waiting to judge the room. Kagali noticed the opening. Kagali spoke first. "The attackers should hold the advantage. I believe we should focus our fighting force on a single target."
I agree. The difficulty is choosing where to strike.
The defenders had to spread their forces. The attackers did not. Kagali and Yuki agreed on that point. Deeno reacted before anyone else. "Let me say this now. You probably should not attack Ramirez's labyrinth. Rimuru's capital will be quarantined inside it for the whole war, and it is designed to be incredibly hard to take down. Save that place for last." The information had already been shared, so no one objected. A failure inside the labyrinth would risk being surrounded and annihilated by reinforcements from every allied nation. Feldway decided, then that will be last. Perhaps attacking elsewhere will draw out some of the forces hiding there. Being dragged into a defensive battle against Ramirez would be a nightmare. Any target they selected would need a clear strategy. Velzard suddenly focused on Leon's continent. Velzard reported, "There is no one left in Icefair Castle. I see no sign of people there." Feldway mused, "The enemy has prepared countermeasures, consolidating the Demon Lords so they do not spread themselves too thin?" Michael answered, "Indeed. I can detect large powers gathered at 5 locations on the surface." Mai removed the light from Guy's northern home and brightened the other 5. One option was gone, but the attackers still held the initiative. A strategy question came next. Zerario asked, "Sir Feldway, I have a question." Feldway asked, "What is it?" Zerario asked, "We know Sir Michael has full control over the angelic set of skills. Can he also determine where the owners of those skills are, even generally?" It was a vital question for Zerario himself. Obela added, "I was wondering the same thing. If we can identify them, we should recruit the holders of those skills first." Michael nodded. Michael said, "I could not sense them before, but now they have come into focus. You and Zerario possess Azrael and Israfil. Deeno's group has Astardi, Haniel, and Jibril. Kagali has taken Melchizedek, and Arius now owns Sandalphon. As for the higher angelic skills, the ones on my own level." Michael paused, scowling. Then he said, "Something is missing." Everyone tensed. Feldway asked, "What do you mean, my lord?" Michael answered, "First Ragule once possessed by Velgrind. I recovered it from her and granted it to a qualified receiver. Next is Gabriel. It has not been recovered from its source. Velzard still possesses it." Velzard remained motionless and expressionless. That was necessary to maintain ultimate dominion over her. Michael continued, "So I know the owners of those skills, but of the remaining 4, 3 are still unclear." By taking Velgrind's abilities and Velzard's draconic factors, Michael had expanded his ability to search for angelic skills under his control. But among the remaining 4, he could clearly locate only one. Metatron, Lord of Purity, Feldway pressed. But did the hero Cronoa not possess Serial, Lord of Hope? Michael replied, "I cannot detect it. Either my detection cannot reach into Ramirez's labyrinth, or some other cause is involved, I cannot say." Feldway reasoned, "Ramirez is not someone to trifle with. Perhaps the labyrinth is impossible for us to see into. Should we assume the owners of Uriel and Raphael are in the same location as Serial?" Michael said, "We cannot be certain, but it is reasonable. There is no other possible place my detection cannot penetrate." No skill created by Veldanava should have been hidden from Michael. The obvious explanation was Ramirez's Mazzacraft. Michael concluded that the 3 missing skills were inside the labyrinth. He was right in one sense and wrong in another. All 3 had already vanished from the world, transformed into something else. But Michael did not know that, and Feldway's side accepted his conclusion. Feldway said, "Then it is not a problem. Veldora is inside that labyrinth, so we will attack it eventually. When we do, we can locate those skill holders and add them to our side."
It is almost like having an inside mole, is it not?
Michael agreed. "Exactly. For now, let us set that matter aside. Once we look inside the labyrinth, we can identify them. The question before us is which target to strike first."
Then I think we already have our answer. If we know for certain where one angelic skill holder is, we should recruit that person first.
Yuki's free will had been taken from him, but his insight remained sharp. Michael pointed to El Dorado, the capital of Leon's domain. Michael said, "The one who possesses Metatron is here." Kagali muttered, "Demon Lord Leon, the one who killed me." So Leon had Metatron, Lord of Purity. Kagali understood at last. The blinding light that had burned her to ash had come from that skill.
Sounds like we have a plan. Who will be attacking?
Vega offered, "I will go. I do not know who this Demon Lord Leon is, but nobody minds if I eat him, right?"
Were you even listening? Leon may become our ally.
Vega clicked his tongue. "Fine. I will make do with the others." Yuki and Vega spoke as if the decision had already been made, and with no objections, that direction became the plan. The purpose was Veldanava's revival. Michael and Feldway saw no need for a declaration of war. The operation would begin as a surprise attack. They did not need to be stingy with power, but Feldway had a more precise idea. Feldway said, "Our objective is to recruit the possessor of Metatron. If we can eliminate a few fighters who interfere, so much the better. But I do not want unnecessary casualties. Leave the rank-and-file soldiers behind. Only the strongest would be sent." Michael's ultimate dominion was absolute over angelic skills, but it was not universally easy to use. The user needed eye contact with the target. Dominion Bullet, when lent to Kondo, affected only one target and was unlikely to work unless the target's attention had been diverted. Regalia Dominion could control multiple people depending on their existence points, but the chance of success dropped if the target was close in rank to the user. Against an equal, it would likely fail unless the target was badly wounded. Reliable control required the target to be below the user in rank. Michael's existence points were around 90 million, but Yuki's own 2 million had to be subtracted from that. Veldora's existence points were around 88 million, which meant Regalia Dominion was unlikely to work on him. Michael did not know that exact number, but he still believed controlling Veldora would be difficult. That was why he wanted to gather as much offensive strength as possible before attacking Ramirez's labyrinth. The question now was who would deploy. Deeno said, "I am staying behind. No one objected. Serenus asked, "What about myself and my force?" Feldway answered, "For now, prepare your forces to move. This operation will be followed by a full-scale invasion." Serenus accepted. Very well. The Insectors, like the Mystics, would prepare for total war. Delos and Nice would manage Zerario's force. Obila would return to the other world to pick up her own force and hand it over to Oma. All of the top staff were now deploying for war. Mai could transport the selected group instantly with World Map. Obila could use Detect Aura to find the right coordinates and teleport herself there. That was the logistics plan. And with that, the surprise attack was underway.
Route confirmed. The next episode and full playlist are ready.
Then don't stop here. Keep watching in story order and subscribe before the next part drops.